This is an animation made entirely from code, and I didn't know how to make it until 3 days ago. Here's my journey of learning to do so. It was made using something called Manim, a Python library that is behind basically every satisfying math animation you have seen on YouTube. It was created by Grant Sanderson, who also happens to be the creator of one of the largest math channels on YouTube, 3 Blue 1 Brown. I had seen these animations being used outside of math videos and they looked really clean. So I decided to learn how to make them for my own YouTube videos from scratch. To get started, I opened the terminal and typed in the pip command to install Manim. After I pressed enter, a wall of text appeared and started downloading some things, which took a while to complete. After that, I set up VS Code as my code editor, got the Python extensions installed, and everything was set up perfectly. I found this short 90-second video that gave me a quick rundown of how Manim code is structured. Really well explained for how short it is, link in the description. As you can see, I was referring back to it for almost every line at the beginning, but eventually I had my first animation ready to render. Except when I ran the Manim render command, I was already met with my first error. I tried the fixes from both the video and the official docs but had no luck. After about 20 minutes of debugging, I gave in and asked Claude. For some reason, VS Code couldn't detect the Manim library I had just installed. After another 30 minutes of trying random solutions that Claude kept suggesting, I got it working. And when it rendered, I was kind of confused. It looked nothing like the clean animation I was hoping for. Turns out, I was accidentally rendering with the -QL flag, which runs it at a low quality mode. One small change later, and there it was, my first ever Manim animation. Just a triangle being drawn on the screen using the draw then fill animation. Nothing spectacular. But after all those headaches, it was genuinely satisfying to see it work. After that, I made one more small animation. My channel name appearing on the screen using the same draw border then fill animation. Simple, but it felt like things were starting to click. And that was end of day 1. Now, before I got into day 2, there were actually 3 things that happened. First, remember when I said that everything was set up perfectly? Well, that was a lie. I kept encountering weird errors which were driving me insane, so I completely wiped everything. VS Code, Manim, even Python itself, and did a clean reinstall to get the environment set up properly. Not ideal, but once it was done, it actually worked reliably for the rest of the project. Second was this VS Code extension called Manim Side View, which lets you preview the animation directly inside VS Code instead of having to open it in a separate window every time. Small thing, but it made the workflow noticeably faster. And third, the real discovery, was the official Manim documentation. I had it opened before, but hadn't actually sat down and read it until now. And usually I'm the last person to read documentation if there's any way I can avoid it. So the fact that I actually enjoyed going through it says a lot about how well it was put together. Going in, I expected to be depending on AI for most of it, but to my surprise, the docs ended up teaching me most of what I needed. Things like controlling multiple animations simultaneously with animation group, staggering them with lagged start, and setting up path animations with move along path. I still used Claude for things I couldn't wrap my head around, but way less than I expected. Now, remember the animation I showed at the beginning? That wasn't originally what I had planned. The original plan was to have some text fade into the Manim logo, which seemed like a decent challenge. But yeah, it was much simpler than I expected. Not bad, just not challenging enough. So I scrapped it and came up with the animation you saw at the beginning. This was a significant step up from anything I had done before. The first part, a square transforming into a circle using replacement transform, was pretty straightforward, and I finished that by the end of day 2. Day 3 started with the second half of the animation, and this part nearly made me give up entirely. For context, everything up to this point was about 2 hours of footage. This part alone is another hour. Now, you might be looking at this and thinking, isn't that the same animation from the beginning? And to that I'll say, you are wrong. Spot the difference? In the first version, the circle completes its path and then transforms into the triangle. In the final version, the transformation happens while the circle is still moving on the path. Subtle, but my brain decided to hyperfixate on it instead of just calling it done. I searched the docs for a solution. Nothing. Asked Claude. It started generating code that went completely beyond what I understood at this point. I tried writing it by hand anyway, piecing it together bit by bit, but each attempt was worse than the last. I mean, just look at this. I genuinely don't know how I made it that bad. At this point, I had a mild crash out, undid everything back to the original animation, and honestly, after seeing all the failed attempts, it was starting to look pretty good to me. But I kept going, trying random animation classes from the docs, just hoping something would click. Eventually, I just copy pasted Claude's version to see if that would at least work, and to my utter surprise, it was somehow worse than what I made myself. Never in my life had I been more disappointed in Cloud as I was at this moment. So, for the sake of my sanity, I took a break. And when I came back, something clicked. The issue was that the circle was moving to the end of the path and only then triggering the replacement transform. But what if instead of that, I moved the circle most of the way along the path and had it complete the final stretch by transforming into the triangle mid-motion? I went back to the docs, adjusted the angle and the path parameters to control exactly when the transformation would kick in. And finally, after all that, it worked. Now, I know this isn't the most complex animation someone could make with Manim, but figuring it out myself, debugging, reading docs, crashing out, and eventually landing on a solution that actually made sense to me, made it worth it in a way that just following a tutorial never would have. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, one more thing I totally forgot to mention.
Think fast, chuckle nuts!